Welcome to Health Hacktivators with lifestyle medicine doctor, GP and longevity expert Dr. Alka Patel. This show will help you to discover a hidden health hacking code that unlocks your phenomenal potential for an outstanding health span, lifespan and wealth span. The show features candid conversations with celebrities, influencers and industry icons, real life stories and cutting-edge health activating advice that other doctors might not tell you. Discover why now is the time to join the strategic self-care revolution and experience the profound effect this will have on your personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, Health Hacktivators. On today's show, I have with me someone truly inspirational. It is Chef Rōze Traore, Cordon Bleu chef and 6'5" model. Now, Rose was born with a congenital heart defect, which meant that as a young boy, he spent some time recovering from several heart surgeries. And it was during this time that he turned to the kitchen as his place of healing and recovery, which then led to a lifelong passion in the culinary arts. So then at the age of 18, Rose packed up his knife kit and then he enrolled in Le Cordon Bleu. And from there, he's gone on to work in some of the most prestigious kitchens around the world, including 11 Madison Park and the NoMad. Now, he's not only a celebrity chef in the States, but also globally as well. Recently, Dior, it was Dior that recognized his brilliance and have brought him on board as head chef at the incredible Guggenheim International Gala. And there's more to add to this resume, adding to his resume of high-profile modeling, Cordon Bleu skills, cooking for the rich and famous, and overseeing some incredibly high-profile events. Rose is now a hotel owner in the West African nation of the Ivory Coast, where his family are from. And that's where he's opened a boutique hotel and restaurant in a very palm tree-lined beach resort area of the Grand Bassam. So today, what are we talking about? We are talking about his journey that started with his heart and how he puts his heart into everything that he does. And I'm going to try and see in the conversation if he can share with us any delicious, healthy heart recommendations as well. Welcome, Chef Rose, to the show. Before we get into today's show, please do support today's show partner, Youth and Earth. Youth and Earth have a range of products that I love to use myself to supercharge my metabolism, to support my health, and to slow down cellular aging. Just be sure you click the link in the show notes for exclusive offers, which Youth and Earth are so generously giving for listeners of this show. Welcome, Rose, to the show. I'm so excited to be chatting to you. I have been so hungry for this conversation for a long time. My appetite, I have to say, is probably beyond ravenous at the moment. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. So where do we start? I guess I want to start right at the beginning, because they do say, don't they, that behind every chef is a real strong origin story as such. And from what I've read and heard about you, I know that you'll cook from your heart. You really do. And your story as well, it starts with your heart as well, doesn't it? You entered this world with a congenital heart defect. So I'd love to know what your recollections of this time and your childhood have been and how it affected you.
Yeah, I mean, the way you describe it is pretty much it's pretty spot on without realizing it up until my adult life, everything that happened previously. So I was born with a heart condition where I had to have surgery right off the bat as a newborn, open heart surgery. And I found out, 7 years after that, I would have to have another open heart surgery. And so this is something that I had to experience, tough love and, just that the way that I'm going to come across or the way that I'm going to have my path is not going to be normal, as whatever that means. And so, yeah, I was born with that condition, and obviously it makes you, it changes you to some degree, because you realize like you can't push yourself as much as you would like to push yourself, because you see other kids, playing sports longer, or,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much what struck me from the beginning. It's like I wasn't able to like be in a lot of physical activities for as long as other kids, and so I had to find a different outlet, especially when I had my second surgery. And ironically, food was the first thing that came to mind, because my dad was a fisherman. And so he was all about introducing us to our roots, our culture, where we're from. And that's the Ivory Coast. So he loved to cook when he was back from, his mission, if you would say, in Alaska. He was a fisherman in Alaska for 3 to 6 months at a time.
Right.
And so, yeah, ironically, when it was recovery mode for me, food was kind of healing. Food was a way for me to find that distraction. I knew it was strenuous, but I knew that I wanted to be better at whatever I was doing. If that was just making a pot of rice, that was just cooking something for my siblings after school. And so it's pretty cool to see now how I retain all of these like small details behind food, and it ended up being a part of me, and it's a discovery that I'm so thankful for. And it's something that I've been going for now 11 years cooking.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, there's a real story there, isn't there? As you say, kind of just using what was clearly a difficult, painful time, those memories of feeling different, being different to your peers, and they're really etched in when you're a young child, aren't they? But it sounds as though there was no stopping you, because you kind of have just pushed through all those barriers. And
That's another good point too. It's like I never looked at that situation as like, oh, I should feel, sorry for myself, or oh, I'm going to let that weigh down on me. It always was more like, I want to continue to overcome whatever obstacle comes my way, and I want to just show others that there's many outlets for you to still have your voice be heard, aside from, let's say, a perfect heart. Or let's say just taking the traditional route as a chef in the kitchen. And so my whole career, it's always been about showing a different path, showing a different way for you to still be represented and use your voice. And that tone has been very important to me till this day. And yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's such a powerful sort of mental state to create for yourself. And I know you're also a very strong mental health advocate as well, amongst everything else that you're doing as well. So let's maybe talk about mood and food here then, because there is that real connect, isn't there, in terms of good food and good mood. And even from a more kind of scientific perspective now, we know that it's not just about that kind of sensory stimulus of food and your memories, but also that real direct impact on your gut and your gut bacteria and all those feel-good neurotransmitters, your serotonin, which are all made in your gut in relation to what you eat and how you eat. So what's your approach there in terms of some of maybe your mental health work and using that kind of positive spirit? What's your approach to good food, good mood?
For me, when you talk about anything that's related spiritually, freedom is like the biggest note for me, because when I'm free to explore, free to express, free to just be curious about things, that is what makes me feel good, and that's what makes me appreciate food better. That's what makes me understand my ingredients more, and at the end of the day, it just gives me a bigger heart to express that connection that I have with that dish more. There's just something beautiful about when you're in that zone, and you're just cooking and you're just understanding each other, and it's such a sensitive, beautiful opportunity. And yeah.
Wow, there's a real kind of spiritual connection that I'm sensing, and this real kind of art form as well. There's a sense of, and I know you're an art lover as well, aren't you? So there's this sense of, even just as you're describing that, I'm smiling through it. You're kind of converting that visual inspiration into something on a plate, and all of that experience that goes with it. What's your art influence? Where's that come from?
So food, fashion, and art are pretty much, it's like my aesthetics. That's my umbrella. That's my corner. That's my map. The art came about because I was so deep into the culinary world, and just like, obviously what you're creating visually is beautiful, but the art really came in my life when I was just like, this is just getting, like, I need a break. I need a distraction. I need some sort of relief. And that's when I started to get into art, because I was like, I like buying this piece of art and having it on my wall by the kitchen and having me just stare at it. And it's a distraction. And and so that's where I started just to buy art, connect with friends that are artists. And long and behold, you find out that artists like the Guggenheim is contacting me to do an event with them to draw inspirations from an amazing artist named Alex Katz. And I have to curate a menu that just draws all of anything that I could retain, anything that I could gather from just looking at his art, curate a menu. I thought that was very full circle, because it's just what I love to do, and it's a great, I want to say, a great distraction, because when you're in this career, it's just in just food or whatever you're doing as a career, you're just so deep in it for you to, and sometimes it's great to just step out, take a little break. And that's what art did for me.
So you talk about distraction there, and I'm getting a sense that, I mean, your rise to success has been an exponential curve, hasn't it? So fast and so quick. And like you say, you've been kind of deep dive into what is an incredible skill. So when you talk about distraction, is it overwhelming what you've achieved so quickly?
I think I look at achievements as far as like, I don't know. It's just, I look at these things that people may see as like bigger goals or bigger achievements as like, just like, it's just, in my way of seeing it, it's just brick by brick. I'm just simply trying to build my home, a household name. And so the house is big, and I just, it's just like, there's a bigger goal that needs to be accomplished, and that's where my head's at. And I am so thankful for even being able to pick up a brick to set it in order for that to become my home. But it does get overwhelming because it's nonstop, to answer your question. It's just like, or maybe that's just what I put in my head, where it's like, congratulations, great, you got this. What's next? Like, you're as good. That quote that says you're as good as yesterday, or you're as good as your last win. Or it's like so true, because like your last win was yesterday. Today's a new day. What are you going to do to overcome that? Or what are you going to do to maintain that? And that's where it's that gift and a curse when it comes to having any sort of artistic point of view. So yeah, it's like, um, there's so many things that you worked so hard for when you started your career and you didn't know much,
Yeah.
to where you finally accomplished that, and it's just, things become second nature, and things become more on, like, I think it's a beautiful thing that I make my goals harder than they were when I was, when I wanted these current goals, if that makes sense.
And that's part of kind of human growth, isn't it? And evolution and the way we're wired, which is to keep growing. That's what we want to do. But there's also perhaps added pressure that
Yeah.
as humans we create on ourselves by you get to one goal, you get there, you think that's everything, but then you move on to another and you just don't give yourself the space to marinate in it, to look
Yeah.
at where you've come. You're always looking at the journey ahead rather than kind of what's past. Do you think that we're doing that, mankind right now? Are we in that kind of constant hamster wheel of
It's definitely not a bragging thing whatsoever. Like I said, it's the gift and the curse that just keeps us pushing. Once you kind of have that ability, that's where you really need to rely on mental health. And, I was doing some studying or just some listening. And one of the biggest concerns, or you could even say issues, are when it comes to thinking about the present, thinking about right now, today.
yeah.
We don't do that often. And so I've been trying to do that more often, because I'm either thinking about the past, or I'm definitely always thinking about the future, but what about today? Like, obviously you think about today, but do you think about today as deep as you think about the future? And that is different.
Yeah, yeah. It's so fascinating that you're bringing this up, because I think you're right. I think there's people are quite afraid of even thinking about right here and right now. And I always say, be where your feet are,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're here, right
Yeah.
now. And we can be so in our head and create anxieties and fears about what hasn't happened yet. But at the same time, back to kind of the gift and the curse is imagination,
Yeah.
creativity. It's such a
Exactly.
gift that we can imagine what isn't even here right now, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
That, I think that is such a beautiful thing that we have, even since we're like kids, imagination.
Yeah.
And due to adult life, we kind of lose it, and there's certain people that keep it. And I think imagination is such a beautiful thing. Um, and I want to continue to carry on some of my childhood abilities, if that makes sense. Meaning, like, I want to continue to imaginate, like, without setting any barriers or understanding any barriers. It's like, and that's kind of how I like to live my life, live my career. Great. You said this door cannot be open for a certain amount of time, and I'm the one that's going to do whatever I can to just hack into it.
Mm.
That is what I love about my approach.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that childlike curiosity, isn't it, that you're really talking about, is like keeping that curiosity alive, not putting the blocks up before you've even gone through the door. Do you think that a lot of your sort of Ivory Coast heritage is a big influence in this for you?
For sure. My mom is one of the most inspiration. My mom's like my biggest inspiration. They're from the Ivory Coast. Came to the States with, just a vision. Washington, D.C. She came here with just the ability or the talent that she picked up from a child, which was just hair braiding.
Right.
And she ended up making a business out of that, and it's still running till this day, both of them. And she's taking all of those, profits, or whatever you want to call it, to create something way bigger that is able to set that is able to, stay for generation after generations in the Ivory Coast. And so I think and that's one woman working so hard and having a vision and really coming to the States with, we'll say, because it's like $0, and ending up creating a whole, empire for herself.
Yeah. Wow. It's so beautiful that you've been able to express that you recognize that you notice that, and you almost resonate that as well in what you're doing as well, because you've said it a couple of times now, doing something bigger than you, something that's way outside of you. And it sounds as though for you as well, like that sense of leaving your imprint beyond you is important for you. Is that right?
That's super important. And that's one of the things, like, it's like to have, like, your goals when we're talking they end up being so minor, if that's the right word, because yes, I want to have an imprint, and that to me is a much, much harder goal, and not just a season or a couple years. Like, I think about longevity. I think about an imprint. I think about generations, and that is where my mindset is at, which is why I opened my hotel in Ivory Coast 2 weeks ago.
Amazing.
In an area called Grand Bassam. It's a beach town. I opened it in this area because my grandparents used to take me there when I was a kid, and we just used to chill on the beach and have some food. And so this felt right, especially after all these years from building a name for myself in the States. I wanted to give something back to my roots. And this is something where, I am thinking as far as like that first establishment, that first, step towards a household name. Like, my vision is more like, I want to build something more on the, let's say, this is not just one in Ivory Coast, but it's like a Hilton. And it's just, those baby steps that just gets you.
Yeah. Gosh, I love hearing about the ambition and the constant drive and the vision, and all of that creative genius is coming through, and everything that you're saying as well, which is incredible to hear and see. So it's Cordon Bleu chef, it's world-renowned chef, it's model, fashion icon, art lover, hotel owner. So what next?
Getting the hotel where I want it to be exactly. So granted, I did 3 years in Ivory Coast growing up, but I never experienced business in the Ivory Coast. My business has always been like in the States, in Europe. So I know exactly how that flows. I could turn around here. I can grab this ingredient, fortunately, create something. I can talk to this specific talent and say, hey, do this job, and just, I don't have to like, be on your back and you're going to do exactly that. Purveyors, but going to the Ivory Coast and opening this hotel and doing business is definitely it's definitely the most challenging thing that I've encountered, aside from just having being in that category when it comes to business, meaning your ingredients aren't always available. Your ingredients aren't, the talent isn't quite what you're used to. Although they are curious about what you always have to think about. Like, we're fortunate in some countries to kind of like be the leaders and to have the opportunity to be in that, let's say, future. And you forget that in other parts of the world, they're always either trying to catch up, or they're always in that past vibe. And so it's great to just come there and just show them, like, this is how, my standards is I want a 5-star hotel, and this is how we're going to do it. I'm not here to just I'm here to represent Ivory Coast, but I'm not here to only cook for Ivorians or cater to Ivorians. I'm here to have the world know us. And for that to be, and in order for that to come true and for that to work, we need to be, ahead of the game.
Right.
I know there's a way that things are handled or things are done in Ivory Coast, but I'm here to move things forward. And that's the simplest things, from the design, the way people's mentality. Like, why do you come to work? I come to work because I want to be the best in this field, and I want to be represented as, a household name, as a professional in this field. Why do you come to work? Is it just for the money? Because if that's the case, that's not the type of staff that I want. And so it's all these, like, small things, and it's not even like, a lot of these other countries, there's some of the most hardest working people that you will ever meet.
Yeah.
But, when you're in that bubble, just like when we're in our bubble in the States or Europe, like, that's all we know.
Mm-hmm.
The way we work is not always, the greatest thing, because we drive ourselves nuts. The way they work is kind of like chill, peaceful, and that's amazing. Mental health wise.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone knows how to do that, except for the Americans and Europeans. Well, the French, they're good, but it's just like, it's just coming in this environment and saying, I'm not here to change everything. I just want to add, and I just want to show you everything that I've learned. Yeah. I don't want it to feel like a secret. A lot of times you don't have someone that is here to say, here's this open book.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I wanted it to be a boutique hotel, because I didn't want any investors involved to come in and change. It's harder for you to listen to someone else when they're not from where you're from. Mm-hmm. And, they're just here trying to change things. So that's pretty much what I've been going through. And it's been a wild ride. It's been fun. It's been changing me to some extent, because I come in an environment understanding that maybe my way is, I'm not even coming here to saying my way is like the right way. I'm coming and saying, hey, this is what I experienced. Yeah. I know you're experiencing this, but how about you do your work, I'll do my work, and we just pick what's best.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, to me, is just as simple. Like, you made this dish, you said it's this way, that you guys like it, but check the way I did this. All I did was just this minor tweak.
Yeah.
And you see the difference already, right? All right, cool. Let's use this.
Great.
Or it could be the other way around.
Yeah. 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 Which is great. So it's really kind of having your vision, knowing which direction you want to go, and you're really, really clear about that, but meeting people where they're at right now. And then it's those small shifts, creating that kind of organizational culture that you want to be around, that you want to be able to exude and develop further as well. Sounds like an incredible project to be part of and to be spearheading as well. Yeah. So looking forward to that expanding as well. And you love traveling as well, don't you? You've been around the globe. So back to kind of cuisine, maybe. Have you been inspired by cuisine around the globe? Where does that inspiration come from?
I mean, that inspiration is the sole purpose, or it was like the very first reason why I decided to just continue cooking, because I wanted to always put myself in predicaments where I wasn't so comfortable. And in those specific areas, I felt vulnerable. I felt the need to understand more about someone and their cuisine and their ways. And here I am, just simply consuming that.
Mm.
And of course, all of that knowledge inspires you to create from these little touches from regions that you've been to. And I think that's something that way before our days, way back then, we didn't have the opportunity to do much traveling. One, it was so hard to do, and two, people were just trying to just survive. This is why you always have people saying, I'm an Italian chef, I'm a French chef, or I'm an American. It's because that was their post. And they perfected that, rightfully so. But I think there's just that one itch where it's like if they had the opportunity without any hassle, meaning I just get on a plane and I'm there. I think that could have also just created a whole different style.
So what do you describe yourself as then? Are you a global chef, a pop-up chef? What do you use to describe yourself?
I mean, the French cuisine has always been the base. I love the classics. I just love being a nomadic chef.
Love that.
My dishes are always classic French with a twist. Where I've been, one day it could be like on a plate, I could literally plate something that has a twist of Ivorian, Japanese, French, all in one. And it's just from these small little things. And I think that's beautiful when it just comes all together.
Oh, love that. So maybe back to kind of food for the heart then. Have you got a suggestion or a favorite recipe if you're thinking about, really cooking for the heart, for heart health, for a healthy heart? What are those magic ingredients? Have you got a recipe or something that you can suggest listeners can rustle up?
I think, that question is kind of like when you say cook from the heart. For me, I love a good Sunday roast.
Okay.
And that to me is just purely from the heart. It's just something that I never get over with. And it feels so, so good. That's from the heart, but it's not good for the heart.
Okay. What is good for the heart then, hey?
Good for the heart, I would say, I personally love a lot of fish, like seafood. It's light, and just lots of root vegetables. Plant-based is definitely real. Plant-based is important. And seafood, plant-based. That's how I like to take my break and just eat fresh, eat wholesome. And
and it's the sensible stuff, isn't it? As you say,
grains are so important. It's crazy how grains till this day are not appreciated as much as they used to be. Before, back in the day, they used to be grains were like jewels. You could just have grains, and way before, it used to be this is my stash, boom, and it used to be good stuff, not just your basic grain. You had your wheat berry, you had your right now quinoa is the only the big boy that everyone knows, but there's so much more out there.
What are your favorite grains, would you say?
I love wheat berries. I love my rice, my black rice as well. And there's one more that no, not saf. Why can't I'm spacing out.
So,
Amaranth,
yeah.
amaranth. I
Ah,
love amaranth, puff
okay.
amaranth.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and so yeah, those are
Right.
my guys.
Your favorites, your favorite. And what do you cook for yourself? What do you enjoy making for you? What's a typical
For
lunch
me,
for yourself?
for me, what makes me happy is just um, like I said, Sunday roast never gets old. I love a whole braised fish.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I just love the dishes that brings a community together. And essentially, I just invite family, friends to just
Yeah.
join.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the essence of food, isn't it? We've gone so far into narrowing down food, but really food is very much about connection. As you say, it's what connects people. Right?
Exactly. Food started because I want to survive. I want to make sure this lasts this far in my journey, and I want to share it with the people that I love or the people that are with me on this journey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that to me is what food is all about.
Love that. Love that. So let me ask you this then, given that it sounds as though there's so much that you've got ambition to continue doing, regardless of everything that you've already done. So how long would you like to live for to be able to carry on doing what you do? How long do you want to live for?
I think about this pretty often. I would want to, I would want to at least see 90, but that's like when you talk about goal, that's not an easy goal to reach. Um, so I always respect those that I see that are in their 90s or even 100 making it that far. And I'm 31. And it's just like, yeah, that's a lot of life and a lot of um, knowledge to learn, which is beautiful. And life comes at you, but that'd be a pretty interesting
Oh, yeah.
perspective to see in my 90s. I don't know how I'm gonna
Oh,
act.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well, you know what? On this show, we're all about living a 1 million hour life. So it's getting you beyond 90, it's getting you to 116 because the time is now. We've got access to so much that allows us to live long, healthy lives, so long as you do take care of it and take care of your life and take care of yourself. So, what do you do to take care of yourself when life is busy, when there's another goal and an ambition, and there's the pressure and there's the passion? Is what are you doing right now to take care of yourself?
right now I'm a huge sauna steam room fanatic. Um, I'll travel for that.
Wow.
I do a lot of walks, some running.
Hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, it's more like I love the sauna and steam room because I have a clear mind.
Yeah.
And I think clearing your mind is great because that means you're releasing or not allowing any toxic energy
Mm.
inside. I love cupping. I think that's another amazing thing. And yeah, those are kind of like my go-tos.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great that you're carving out space in this busy, busy world to do that and spend time with yourself
Mm.
as well. And yes, there's great power in heat and cold, and we know about kind of sauna and cold therapies as
And
well. But
even traveling, to be
yeah,
honest, like I don't act the same when I'm in the States.
right.
It's hard for me to act the same when I'm, in Ivory Coast compared to the States. And
Uh-huh.
so that person is more like, chilling, letting things flow,
Yeah.
no stress. What's meant to happen will be. That's always my mentality. But when I'm like not in New York City, it's even like more that. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
let it
Oh,
flow.
great.
Um, and anything that I want, I will get. It's a matter of time, and that's pretty much it.
Brilliant, brilliant. There's a very gentle empowerment about you as you're speaking, and it comes from having that clarity, doesn't it? Clarity of vision and spending time with yourself, knowing what that is, and taking people on that journey with you to do things, as you say, beyond yourself. So,
It's like all of my goals that I wanted before, I either accomplished it or it just got to the point where it was like me trying so hard to get it that I never got it. And it finally appears in my life. And I'm just like, so like, hey, what's going on? All right, cool. Let's do it. Like no effort. And that's a beautiful thing because that's just like, letting Mother Nature do her thing.
So what would you say to people listening in terms of kind of the goal setting side of things? Because lots of people are setting goals, and there's pressure around setting goals. And as we talked about earlier, you reach it and then you move on. And what's an approach that you've taken for setting goals that you would recommend or suggest?
My approach for setting goals, I think it's important for you to have goals. I think it's important for you to keep diving towards them, but also understanding that you need to let go in order for the magic to happen. And when you let go, you'll notice that things slowly start to form because you're not putting too much stress on that specific matter. And so I think that it's a beautiful thing to continue to put your words out. Words are powerful. Continue to put those words out in the air. Do that freely. Do that as many times as you want. Say whatever you want, but just remember to not put too much stress on them once they're out there, to give them time to mature and form.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Know what you want, put out the words, take the action that's going to take you there as well. Don't get complacent, but don't get stressed about it either. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, love that. Love that. So let's just bring it back full circle, back to kind of where we started with the conversation, which came from the heart for your heart. Again, just thinking about, food for the heart and eating well. What's your kind of final message when it comes to food and that connection with it and what's good for your soul? What do you say?
I think it's super important to understand where your food is coming from, and that's, we talk a lot about privilege these days, and that's something that not a lot of people have the privilege to. But if you do, make sure you understand where your food is from in order for your body to receive it well. For instance, I've been in the States for years and I'll eat things and it's organic, but I go to like the Ivory Coast, and this one thing that I noticed from the bat. I go to the Ivory Coast and there's no big stores saying this is organic. It's just like the food speaks for itself. Yeah. And your body feels your body's a vessel, and you feel it just like you're still light. You're not bloated. There's no, it's just like what I ate right now. I know exactly what that is. I know where it came from. I even spoke to the person that caught it. I even spoke to the farmers. I even spoke to the women that, pick these vegetables. And that to me, it's like we say this in the States, but there's always politics that gets involved in it to where it's like, oh, well, maybe it's not so organic.
Yeah.
Because money is always the concern.
Yeah. And there is a reality check around that, isn't there, as well, is that, as you say, not everyone's in a position to be able to talk to the very hands that sowed the seed that landed the orange in your hand some months later. But there's always a choice about at least understanding what you can choose, and taking that extra step to know where your food has come from, feeling connected to where it's come from. And I think if people just did one thing in terms of just even deprocessing their food choices and minimizing processed food, even though you might not be able to connect directly with the hands that sowed the seed, that in itself for health would make such a huge difference for people, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a story. That's a whole different story. And it's very unfortunate how certain people try to sacrifice money in order to just feed people just food. It's just, there's no reason why. There's so much money in this world. There's so much money in the States for people to still not have just good quality food.
Yeah.
And that is something that is pretty wild. And when you even go to like I said, going to the Ivory Coast, that's one thing that I noticed right off the bat. It's not maybe you'll have like a fancy type of chicken, but everyone has just natural, organic food, and it's not a big promotion.
Yeah. As you say, that's a big conversation, isn't it? The supermarket giants and the manufacturing politics is really what needs a huge shift and a change, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I answered your question, but that kind of came in there.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. This has been a really connecting conversation, and food does that, doesn't it? Every time you talk about food, there's a memory that comes up with it. There's a sensory experience that comes with it. There's a vision, there's the creativity as well that you so beautifully expressed today. So really appreciate this conversation. You've now satisfied my appetite. Thank you so much, Rose. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
You too. Thank you for having me, and so glad we got to make it happen. And yeah, I'll be in the UK soon, I'm sure, and we'll have a good session there too.
Oh, that would be incredible. Yeah, I look forward to doing that and meeting you. And and I know there's so much more that you can share. So let's definitely keep the conversation going. And see you in the UK when you're here, or when I'm over there. Or I would love to come to the Ivory Coast, to your beautiful hotel as well. So let's keep chatting for sure. Amazing. Well, there was a soft power in that conversation, wasn't there? You really could feel Chef Rōze's strong ambition and his determination, all mixed in with his gentle spirit and his soulfulness as well. His creative genius is incredible, and he's so humble about all his achievements as well. As you heard him say, just moving on to the next project, to go bigger, to go better, to go deeper, but never forgetting his cultural roots either. And I must say, I found his tribute to his mother very, very moving as well, especially when he described her as his biggest inspiration. And well, I have no doubt that being a mother to a child with a heart condition will have been a very, very difficult period for her, but also that her strength and her resourcefulness became his strength, and his resourcefulness gave his heart strength. And we did touch a little bit in the conversation about food from the heart and for the heart. So what I'll do on next week's show is I will dive much more deeply into some healthy heart hacks so that we can really get much deeper into how to eat for a healthy heart. So stay tuned, and I wish you a health activating day.